In 1968, a science fiction film that was directed by Franklin Schaffner hit the big screen. That film was Planet of the Apes. It stars Charlton Heston, Roddy McDowall, Kim Hunter, Maurice Evans, James Whitmore, Linda Harrison, and James Daly. And Michael Wilson and Rod Serling wrote the screenplay for the movie. The story is about an astronaut crew that crash on a strange planet in the distant future. The surviving crew members stumble upon a society in which apes have evolved into creatures with human-like intelligence. The apes have assumed the role of the dominant species, and the humans are delegated to the animal roles. It was originally thought by the studios, and also by the book's author, that it would make a terrible movie. Talking apes were stuff of B-movies back in the 60s, so nobody really took the script seriously. When the producer was trying to shop the script to different studios, he ran into this exact problem. He ran into rejection everywhere he went, and it actually took a makeup test to convince 20th Century Fox to produce the movie. Richard Zanuck with 20th Century Fox decided to take a look at the possibility of the movie. He had one reservation and concern, and his thought was that people might laugh at the makeup. Up to that point, the on-screen apes that were seen in television and movies were either real monkeys or people in flimsy costumes. He knew that the movie would not work without the perfect makeup. So the producer shot a makeup test to convince Zanuck. The makeup test included the star Charlton Heston, alongside Edward G. Robinson in full ape makeup and costume. The makeup test wasn't cheap to shoot, but it did impress Zanuck. He agreed to give the director and the producer $5 million to get Planet of the Apes started. At the height of the movie's production, it actually required around 100 makeup artists and hairstylists to be on set to get everyone ready to become apes. Some of the bigger scenes had around 200 actresses and actors in their full ape garb, with all of this taking hours upon hours of work, but the entire makeup process was done like a well-oiled machine. The man that was behind all of the makeup and construction of the styling of the apes was John Chambers, one of the premier creature effects artists in Hollywood. Chambers was known for working on sci-fi and fantasy shows like The Outer Limits and Lost in Space, but you will probably know him best from his work on Star Trek. Spock's pointed ears were even conceived by Chambers in the original TV series. Rod Serling did some major writing on the script for Planet of the Apes. He spent an entire year trying to adapt it for the big screen. The intention was to use his script for the movie, but it was just too expensive to produce. Serling had created an ape society that was technologically advanced, with apes driving cars, piloting helicopters, and conducting business in skyscrapers. The production was scaled back and showed apes in a more primitive society. They rode on horses and lived in cities that could be constructed for less money. When the production originally began, it would sometimes take 6 hours to put an actor in full ape makeup, but eventually they were able to streamline the process. Chambers and his staff created an assembly line which brought the makeup time down to around 3 hours per character. Charlton Heston was desperately sick during much of the filming of this movie. He had flu-like symptoms, but rather than wait for him to get better, the producers felt that his hoarse voice would actually add something to the character of Taylor. His character is listed in the credits as George Taylor, but the name George is never actually seen or heard in the film. He's always referred to only as Taylor in the film. The film was shot between May and August of 1967. But due to the stifling summer heat and the heavy makeup and costuming, all 4 sequels were wisely shot during the winter months. The director was deliberate about shooting odd and skewed angles, often with handheld cameras to create a disorienting effect, much like what Taylor would experience in this new world. The original script for Planet of the Apes called for all the female native humans to be walking around topless. This idea was quickly squashed by Fox to appease the censors. The early scenes in the movie where the spaceship crash lands in the lake were all filmed at Lake Powell, which is formed by a dam on the Colorado River on the Utah and Arizona border. During the hunt scene, it has been said that Charlton Heston was completely nude as he ran from the apes, and he managed to get himself into some poison oak that was around the Fox Century Ranch where the movie was being filmed. One of the more strange side effects of having a cast of humans in complete ape makeup occurred at lunchtime. During this break from filming, the cast would sit and eat divided down species lines. The human actors, the chimpanzees, the orangutans, and the gorillas were all self-segregating, and they would eat with their own kind. The actors and producers were just as confused as anyone by this, with Charlton Heston even saying he had no explanation for it, and it just happened. The different species seldom even communicated with the other groups. This is one of the more interesting and peculiar side effects that occurred during filming. In 1969, there wasn't even an Oscar category for achievement in makeup, but John Chambers' work was so good it had to be recognized in some way. The Academy decided that an honorary Oscar for outstanding makeup achievement would be presented to him at the 41st Academy Awards. He was introduced to the crowd by Walter Matthau, but the real star was the chimpanzee that was decked out in a tux that handed Chambers his award. Compared to the blockbusters of today, Planet of the Apes ends on a bit of a downer. We learn that humanity is lost, and Earth has been destroyed, with only the crumbling image of the Statue of Liberty left to remind us of this once grand civilization. This was a really well done movie considering the obstacles that had to be overcome and the lack of computer-generated effects like we have today. Give this movie another look, and I think you might enjoy it. It certainly transports you back in time and stirs up memories from the late 60s. If you enjoyed this video, check out the description for links that help support the channel. And as always, thank you so much for watching.